Hello folks, welcome along to a very special edition of When the Cockerel Crows. We got it on YouTube, Facebook, X and Twitch, so please give us likes and subscribes and all that kind of thing. And please comment, get involved and let us know what you think of our shows. And get involved when we go live and we talk all things Tottenham. Well, coming up, this is part one of a very, very special interview I did in front of a live audience quite recently with a football legend. Well, this man didn't just manage Tottenham Hotspur, he transformed the club. When he walked into White Hart Lane in 2008, the club was struggling at the wrong end of the table. What followed was nothing short of electric, with fearless attacking football, belief, and a bit of that famous Harry magic. Spurs went from survival mode to the bright lights of the UEFA Champions League. He built a team that played with swagger, Bale flying down the wing, Modric pulling the strings, and Van der Vaart dazzling. King commanding at the back. He brought pride back. He brought excitement back. Oh, how we could do with that now. He also gave Spurs fans nights they will never, ever forget, and I certainly won't. Fourth place, Champions League football, and then that unforgettable European run, conquering AC Milan at the San Siro and lighting up White Hart Lane on the biggest stage of all. He didn't just manage Spurs, he made them believe they belonged with Europe's elite. Please get on your feet and please welcome, this is a very, very special interview with the man, the legend, Mr. Harry Redknapp. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to Bodmin, giving up your Thursday evening. I can tell you now, you're in for an absolute treat tonight. We have in Bodmin absolute football royalty, all-round good guy, and also king of the jungle. Can I please introduce you to Mr. Harry Redknapp?
I've had a new experience. The vicar just took me over to the toilet over there. First time I've ever been over to the toilet for a vicar holding me hand. But it was alright, it was good as gold. Where's Elena? Here she is. Where? There. They tell me you do fantastic work. Do you know what I want to do? I'm going to put up a round of golf with me for 3 people. And all the money goes to your... what you do for it.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah? We'll do that tonight. Good. Nice to be here. I've just met everybody who came over to the photos. A lot of West Ham punters here. When I played here, our motto was I'm forever drinking doubles. not I'm forever blowing bubbles. Do you know we used to be around the pub, the Black Lion pub in Plaistow? I don't know if you've ever been round there. We used to be round there by 5:30 on a Saturday night in that pub, I swear, after a game. The whole team. And someone sent me an amazing picture yesterday, a fellow called Brian Deere. Do you know that? Brian, Stag. Right? Brian played in the team that won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1965. And he sent me a picture, it's on my phone, I can show it to you if we can't blow it up to show you. But what was amazing, there was the team there, and a great team picture, it's individual pictures, and every one of them had the flag of St George over their head, because everyone was English. There was a team of 11 boys, all English kids, and they all came through the youth team, nearly all of them. Bobby, Jeff, Martin Peters, all came out the youth team. Alan Seeley, Brian Deere, Jackie Burke at the left back, Kenny Brown the centre half, Ronnie Boyce, all youth team, all came through the youth team, all came through that conveyor belt of players. Isn't it amazing when you look back how it was? All kids, all local kids from Barking, Dagenham, all around that area. and that was, they made the team up. Every player was homegrown, English kids. Now it's so different now, you know, very few kids coming through youth teams anymore. You look at West Ham, how many players they got at the moment at the youth team, in the team? I can't think of any. Well, you might know better than me, you lads. Well, Potsy don't play because he's on the verge. You know, I'd like to see him get in the team, but I mean, it was a regular. They are none. It's just gone crazy. It's sad.
Yeah, as you're right, it's a shame, Harry. Just now welcomed you to Bodmin. Can you just tell us what you've been up to the last couple of weeks?
I didn't tell you. I don't talk about my personal life.
You've been out of the country?
No, actually, I've been in South Africa. I was doing I'm a Celebrity. There was another one. I did one in Australia back in 2018. This year, they just had another one, finished a couple of weeks ago. And so, yeah, I went out and did that. It was interesting. I mean, I'd only been there 2 days, and I was, Jimmy Bullard, he came in, he was the king of one team, I was the leader and king of the other team, and we split them into 2 groups, and I said, we lost the trial, so Anthony Deck said, you've got to go into camp and send one of your subjects home. I mean, they'd all gone there, they all wanted to do well. And I picked one of them out, and he was a comedian, Sean Walsh. Right, I didn't really, anyway, I said, well, like David Hay, I want to send him home, in case he's in the right-hander. Mo Farah, Mo was with there. There was Gemma Collins, she might give me a right-hander. The only way is Essex. Who else was there? There was Scarlett Moffat, she was a nice girl. Geordie girl. Anyway, I ended up sending this Sean home, but I came back into camp. They said, who are you going to send? I said, I'm going to have to send someone. I didn't want to do it, and I got back and I forgot his name because they all stood in front of me. I called him Stuart by mistake. So it's going to be on TV. I mean, it was so embarrassing, you know. But no, it was good fun. It was nice. I did a stoning weight out there. Exactly, I put it back on since I've been home, but I've done a stoning. There's no food. There's nothing there. Yeah, it was like going on one to one of them health farms where you don't get any food, you know. But it was all right. Anyway, we're back now, and I think they're going to show it in April, and it'll be good fun. I think the winner, which is nice, gets £100,000 for a charity. Not for you don't get it for yourself. For a charity of your choice. We don't know yet. They don't decide till April. You've got to vote. So, if I did win it, I'd like to split the £100,000 between maybe 6 or 8 or 10 charities. Really, I'm a patron of 19 charities. I'd like to give them all a few quid rather than give £100,000 to one. You know, but I don't know if they'll let you do that.
Brilliant. So that was the most recent thing you've been up to. So if we go back to early days of Harry Redknapp. So born in Poplar, East London, 1947. Mother and father. Father was a doctor, mother was a cleaner.
Yeah. My dad was a prisoner of war. Came back from the war. My old man was a fantastic footballer. I mean, I know everybody says, "Oh, my son's a great." My old man could really play. And he was a prisoner of war. Came back from the war. Played non-league, great non-league, good non-league footballer. But big, I know we're going to get the young with SPURS and West Ham, but he was a big Arsenal fan, my dad. We lived in the East End of London on a big old housing estate, and everybody was West Ham, because we lived not far from West Ham. But my dad was Arsenal, and so every week we get the bus, the 36 bus, the 277, and we go to watch Arsenal. He'd take me to Arsenal at the age of about 7. We've got Man United fans here tonight. Yeah. I saw the last game before Munich. I'm sure most of you know what happened. You know, the Munich air crash was an incredible, most terrible disaster. Where Man United were the best young team in the world, probably the best team certainly in Europe, and they went off to play. They played Arsenal on the Saturday, and my dad took me. I was 10 years of age. They beat Arsenal 5-4, and they flew off to play in Belgrade in the European Cup, the Champions League as it is now. And then on the way back, they stopped to refuel in Munich, and that's when the Munich air disaster happened. But I saw that game, the last game they played before in this country before Munich. Duncan Edwards, Tommy Taylor, Roger Bird, all these fantastic players. But it was very different then. We all went to school every day, the whole country prayed for them boys who was in that crash. And there was no segregation. When you went to football, as a, you know, we'd be there, and the Man United supporters who travelled up to London that day, my dad would open a flask up and give them a cup of tea and have a chat. There was no segregation, there was no chanting, there was no aggravation. Everybody just went to enjoy a game of football, cheered for their team, whatever end you stood, no fighting, no. And that, you know, that changed obviously in later years during the 70s, and it became very, very different, didn't it? Late 60s, early 70s, especially late 60s. So suddenly it became very tribal and lots of problems. I remember coming back on the train as a West Ham player, and, you know, getting to Crewe Station, coming back from wherever we'd been up north, and, you know, there'd be a mob from another club waiting to attack the train. I mean, it was horrendous. Bricks coming through the window. I mean, you all on the train. You know, we used to travel by train a lot in them days, the players. Well, we got the coach. Now they fly everywhere, don't they? Everywhere they fly. Arsenal played Bournemouth, I swear, and they flew to Bournemouth. I mean, can you believe it? It must have took them longer to get to the airport than what the journey was by coach. They flew to play Bournemouth. I went, no, you're kidding. They went, no, they did. Flew into Bournemouth Airport to play Bournemouth. Unreal, wasn't it? You imagine, a different world.
So let's go back to your kind of early years, if you like. What school football team, what kind of player were you kind of growing up in those early years?
When I was a schoolboy player, I lived on a big estate called the Debt Estate. And the amazing thing was, on this estate, we used to play football, get thrown off by the porters or whatever. And we had a lovely guy there who worked in the docks. He worked with my dad actually, called Albert Chamberlain. And the porter threw us off one day. Albert was watching us play, lovely sunny evening. And Albert said, you know, Albert was going to beat the porter up. And he said, I'll start the team up. He put us in a league. And that was it, under 10s. He put us in the Regents Boys League. And we used to travel Sunday mornings, get the bus, get the train, slap over there, all half asleep, up past 7 in the morning, walking along. Sleepwalking, I think most of us kids were. But that was Albert started that team. When we left school, it's an incredible story. All 11 kids out of the Debt Boys got a scholarship, got apprenticeships at football clubs. All 11. Not all, we had a squad of about 20 in the end, but 11 of us actually got apprenticeships, which was amazing, really. And Albert was a big part of that, you know. I left school at 11, I used to go train at Tottenham. School holidays, I got to Tottenham. Get on a scout called Dickie Walker, picked me up. Dickie was a captain of West Ham back in the day, centre half. Really impressive guy. He was there with Ernie Gregory and them players at West Ham. When he finished his career, he didn't get a job at West Ham, and Tottenham gave him a job as a scout. And he came along and took me to Tottenham at 11. And I used to go train in school. I did 6 weeks at Tottenham, Cheshire, with another boy who was 14. Played East London Boys, and we get on the bus, get the train, get to Cheshire every day. And that was around the double winning team, you SPURS fans, with Dave Mackay, Danny Blanchflower, John White, Cliffy Jones. That team, they won the double that year, around that period, 61-62. Tottenham were the double winning team, FA Cup and League. So, and my favourite player was a fellow called John White. John was a midfield player, came from Falkirk in Scotland. He married Harry Redknapp's assistant manager at Tottenham's daughter, and he was like Glenn Hoddle, this fellow. He could play like he'd never seen. And he got killed playing golf at Cruise Hill Golf Course. I think he was 24, got struck by lightning playing golf with a couple of his pals, and he lost his life that day. But he was the most fantastic footballer, John White. He pulled all the strings in that team. But yeah, tragically, lost his life at 24. So it was great. But then when I came to leave school, West Ham was a team, as I said just now, that produced its own players. They didn't buy players. That Tottenham team was a great team. But they had like Dave Mackay came from Scotland, John White came from Scotland, Cliffy Jones, Walshin came from Wales, Terry Medwin. They went into the transfer market and they bought great players, built a great team. But the West Ham team was all over, everybody came from the youth team. And Ron Greenwood was the coach, and he was the best football. He was a genius. When people talk about football coaches, he was on another planet. You know, he was doing things that these people do now. He was doing that in was 60, 61, 62. I went there and it near post crossing, Jeff Hurst pulling away, leaving space, attacking near post, scoring goals, getting across defenders. No one did that. Wingers would hang the ball up in the air for centre forward to try to out-jump the centre half. Ron, Ron, with his coaching every day, leave the space. That space is the space you want to attack. Pull away. Don't be, pull away. Give the defender that back. Now you attack that space. Things like that, overlapping fullbacks. We were the first team to have overlapping fullbacks. Fullbacks used to stand on the halfway line, never moved. Ron Green, whenever it was about making 2 against 1 on the opposing fullback. So training every day was incredible. That's why they produced so many coaches. We all learned from Ron Green. We all discipled John Bond, you know, Kenny Brown. All these people went on to become coaches. All learned from Ron. He was amazing. And so it was a great education, great club to grow up at. And I went there at 15. In my first year there, we won the FA Youth Cup, which was a massive competition in them days. I mean, we were getting 20, 25, 30,000 people to watch the youth team play. And we went on and won the Youth Cup that year. Johnny Scissors, Johnny played in that team that won the FA Cup that year. He played in the youth team and played in the youth team at the same time. But we went on and me and John played in the team that won the Youth World Cup. We beat Spain in the final 4-0 in Holland. And that team included people like Johnny Hollies, Howard Kendall, Dave Sadler, who played for Man United when they won the World and European Cup. Don Rogers, who was a Swindon, was an amazing player. Peter Knowles, everybody, it was an incredible team. But that was a great day for me playing in that youth team and being part of that West Ham youth team, the England youth team. So it was a great club to be at for me, to be at West Ham. And we had a man at the club who was the greatest footballer, the best person I ever met in my life. His name was Bobby Moore. There was no one like Bobby. I'll be honest. I get great I cry even talking about him.
Why did England treat us so bad?
He did get treated badly by England. He was the most incredible man. He never slagged anyone off when he played. He read the game. He was just a class act on the field, off the field. He was our captain. We all loved him. We all looked up to him. He was the governor. Bobby was special. There was no one like Bobby. And again, West Ham wasn't great to him, if we're truthful. He should have been an ambassador for that club. Franz Beckenbauer became ambassador for Bayern Munich. Bobby Cheltenham, they had the greatest chance to have the greatest ambassador. He should have been sitting in the front row of the director's box every Saturday. Yeah. You try to sign kids, you're the manager, you want to sign a star schoolboy, you take Bobby round there, the kid Bobby signs, ain't no danger. That was what he could have been for West Ham, and they ignored him, didn't use him. England were the same. It was so sad, but he was so special, you know, he really was amazing.
So you speak very fondly there about Bobby Moore. If we stick with him for a little bit, wasn't the tallest, wasn't the quickest?
No, if you'd have gone and watched him play, you'd have said, well, give me a report on him. He'd have come back and said, well, how big is he? 5'11", you know, just under 6 foot maybe. Quick? No, he can't run. Good in the air? Not really. No. But he read the game. He was always in the right position. He read the game. He didn't go jumping up with big centre forwards like Wyn Davies, who he couldn't beat in the air. He used to make that a go and he'd drop off, then flick it on, he'd catch it on his chest and then play, you know. Made the game look simple. But he's why, you know, we all need people. I talked to 3 lads here, football managers, and they said, give us any advice. I said, what advice I would give you, you get more out of people by telling them what they can do than what they can't do. Encourage people. We all have a pat on the back. When we do a good job, we love it when someone says, hey, you were fantastic today. Well done, brilliant. And I think that is so important. And Bobby, I spent so much of my life with him. We went to America together to Seattle, and we used to talk, and he said, Harry, you know, Malcolm Allison, who was a great football coach, played at West Ham, was captain of West Ham. Malcolm believed in Bobby, and he said, without Malcolm, I would never have been a player. Because when Bobby left school, there was 2 places left on the ground staff. They had 8 places to fill. 7 of them were certainties, and it was a toss-up between Bobby and another boy. and they were going to take the other boy. And Malcolm Allison used to do the training Tuesday, Thursday night. He'd been injured, Malcolm. He had a kidney replaced or whatever. He hadn't been well, but he was the governor of the football club. This is before Ron. This is under Ted Fenton, and Malcolm ran the club at that time. And he said, "No, you're going to sign in Bobby Moore." He said, "He can't run, Malcolm. He ain't." He said, "I'm telling you, he'll be a player. You're signing him." And Malcolm was the governor. And he signed. And Malcolm just took an interest in Bobby, and he believed in him. And Bobby repaid that faith in him. But have someone believe in you is so important in life. Whatever job you do, whether you work in a factory and someone you do it, it's like, "Hey, great job today. You were that really good. You've done a great job." We all love a pat on the back, and I think that is important. And I think Malcolm really gave that to Bobby, and Bobby idolised Malcolm Allison.
So your career's kind of progressed as a youngster. August 1965, you made your debut in a 1-1 draw at home to Sunderland at Upton Park. So what are your memories of that?
Well, I just remember playing in the youth team on the Saturday at Chapel Heath, which was our training ground. The first team played on the Saturday, I think. Might have been West Bromwich Albion away. I think they got beat, cut by a couple of goals and didn't play very well. And so in the midweek, Ron Redwood made a couple of changes and he brought me into the team. So I'd gone from playing in the youth team on the Saturday to playing in the first team on the Tuesday or whatever night it was, you know. That was my debut. So it was, and then on the Saturday we played Leeds at home. That was that great Leeds team under Don Revie, where, you know, the amazing team, Jack Charlton, Norman Hunter, Terry Cooper, Paul Reilly, Eddie Gray, you know. But we beat them on the Saturday, so yeah, it was great to break into the team at that age.
Yeah, definitely something to be proud of being your home club at that. Was there, how difficult was it to kind of bridge that gap between playing youth football into that?
No, well, we had a good grounding because, you know, even playing in that youth team, as I say, we beat Liverpool in the final of the Youth Cup that first year. I was 15, and it's an under 18.5 competition. So some of the boys, by the time it came around, was 19. So I was very, very young and played in that team. And I think the final we had 30,000 people there. So I was used to playing every youth game. The crowds loved watching our youth team play. So I was used to playing in front of good crowds and playing that England team that won the Youth World Cup in front of like 40,000. So yeah, it was just a sort of natural progression really, and then to come out and play at Upton Park was, it was an amazing stadium back in them days. You know, we had the old chicken run, which was it was just a wooden chicken run, if you like, wooden slats. Underneath there, it was piled that high with newspapers and fag papers and dog eggs and it was the greatest fire risk you could ever imagine. How it got away with it, I never know. But that was how it was, and they would stand there, the West Ham fans, and when we were winning, or the team was winning, and they swayed and sung bubbles, it was one of the great sights in football, you know. But it was an atmosphere, they were that far from the touchline, a yard away, and you can imagine the abuse of opposing players was incredible. Yeah? Fucking abuse some of us got sometimes, was incredible. But no, they would let the opposing team have plenty of sleep, you know. But no, they were great times, great days, and great players, and say all homegrown. But we was all mates. So it was a great time. We used to come in the summer. You couldn't make it up really. During the summer, when we was off for 8 weeks, we'd come in and we used to meet over at the Hainault Golf Course. There was a lovely flat area. We'd come over there Sunday morning. Bobby lived around the corner in Chigwell. We'd all turn up, put our gear on, and we'd play football. Like we played tennis. So I'd have a few of our mates there. They'd come and from there we'd go round the retreat pub in Chigwell at 2, and we'd have a drink, up past 12, get in the pub, and then we'd all end up back at Moro's house for taking out the booze, But we used to come and play football on a Sunday morning. You couldn't imagine now, could you? All turned up, we was all mates, it was different, wasn't it? It was all kids from the same areas. All our dads worked in the docks or whatever they'd done. It was so different. We weren't away from the people, you were part of the people in them days, Now, they're all foreign players, and they don't mix with the public, really, do they? If we're honest, it's a different world.
Was there much of a drinking culture around the football club at the time?
Yeah, I have to be truthful. It was a big drinking culture in football in them days. It was very different. You know, people, you'd have a drink. I mean, Bobby could have captained the England drinking team. I mean, he loved the lager more, or he could drink the lager. Like, but he never looked like he had a drink. He just looked immaculate. We'd get on the train coming back from the away game at Newcastle. He'd be in a carriage, I'd be in another carriage playing cards. Bobby would be in a carriage with Frank Lampard and a few of the boys, and see Frank Senior, and Bobby said, how many lagers you got on Stuart? He'd say 6 cases, bring them in, and they'd pile them up, and by the time they got to the back to London, there wouldn't be any left. And Bobby would go and have a wash and a shave in the thing, Bob. He'd come in, change his gear, had a suit carrier, and he looked like he'd catch his diet, and he's off out for the night, pick Tina up, and away they'd go. But he looked like he had a drink. It was amazing, really. You know, but that was how he was. He just always looked immaculate, didn't he? He'd put his shorts on last. We used to go out in the dressing room. Bobby would hold his shorts. Like, that was his superstition, and he'd put them on last. Always put his shorts on last, Bobby. He was just in everything about him. I shared, you know, I went to America for 7 weeks, we shared a room. We was like the odd couple. I mean, you know, when I'm leaving, I'm checking on my suitcase, trying to get it, throwing all Moro's cases, like, he's got all his socks laid out, his shoes, he's got shoe trees in his shoes, his ties all laid out on his shirts, all unbelievable. That's how he looked all the time, didn't he? It was amazing.
So was there, we touched on the drinking culture there, was there pressure as a young lad to come into that? Were you kind of under pressure to join in, or?
No, really, I just like drinking Bacardi and Coke at that time. No one was forcing me. But it was, those were the days in the, I mean, we was an East End team, and those were the days of the Blind Beggar, Roddy and Reggie Cray, and, you know, they were people that we'd see on a Saturday night. I mean, the music of the 60s was going, and it was a different world, you know, it was the world that we sort of, and they all loved West Ham, so you did turn up to the games. We'd had more villains turning up, and a few dodgy coppers who I won't talk about. They would all be mixing, they'd all be in the pub together. You know what I mean? We come back, one silly story, we come back one day, we had a supporter called Bill Larkin, he was the Peanut Kid. Bill was, he had Larkin's Peanuts, right? He had a big house in Essex. And Bill always had a bow tie on, right? He was wearing grey hair, all slicked back, immaculate, big man. Anyway, he took us all out one lunchtime up the West End. He took us all out to lunch. He loved West Ham. Bill was quite, he was a bit posh, Bill, you know. Anyway, we're all coming back, all of Bill's car. There's like 9 of us in his Bentley. We're all sitting on each other's lap. Suddenly there's a Panda car behind us, police car. Bill, there's a Panda car, he's got his light on. Bill, slow down, Bill. Bill's drunk, was a sack driver, right? He was silly, wasn't it? Bill, slow down, Bill, there's a Panda car, come back. Oh, don't worry, I'll outrun him, he's got a light. No, Bill, you can't, we've got to stop Bill. Anyway, he pulls over, the 2 cops get, excuse me, sir, he said, how many people you got? No, he went, Bobby! Like Moro's sitting there with someone on his lap and a book. God, it's West Ham boys. Oh, how are you going, lads? Oh, well, West Ham didn't have cameras then days. Can we have an autograph, you know? Oh, I love it. Anyway, where are you going? They said, we're going to the Baker's Arms, Stratford. Oh, yeah? I said, well, listen, 3 of you get in the car, 3 of us got in the Panda car, the other stay, right? I swear to God, right, you can't. 2 hours later, they're still in the pub dancing with the barmaids at 2 letters. And that's how it was, wasn't it? They took us back to the pub. Like, we're all ladies, I mean, it was another world, wasn't it?
So that season you made your debut was the one that led up to the 1966 World Cup final. You played 7 league games, scored your only goal of the season in the away win at Tottenham in 1966.
Right.
Cup final. How was the buzz around West Ham at that time, leading up to the World Cup?
Well, it was, I don't know, we were just, like the lads were just, they were just, you know, wasn't like, oh, you know, it was great. We all wanted to obviously see them. And I mean, look what they did. I mean, they did just play in the World Cup final. One of them was the captain, Bobby. Jeff scored a hat-trick and Martin got the other goal. I mean, that's silly. You know? But, you know, when you talk to Jeff, I mean, how do you get a hat-trick in a World Cup final, Wembley against Germany? If you're a little kid, you couldn't even dream of it, would you? It was like, it's not even a dream, it's too stupid, isn't it? It's beyond belief to do that, you know? It was amazing. And I said to Bobby, what did you, Jeff, you know, we went to America, the two of us together. I went out with Jeff and Bobby, going, what did you do the night you won the World Cup, you know? I said, well, the wives couldn't come into the reception. They weren't allowed in, the wives. They had to sit in the lobby of the hotel about 4 hours while the players were in there at the reception. They didn't let the wives go in. And then we come out, I said, what? He said, we ended up ringing up Danny LaRue's club. There was a fellow called Danny LaRue. Remember, he was a female impersonator. He's ended up, they've ended up getting a table in there. And Jeff was saying, we were sitting, it was the worst table in the place. We're sitting right next to the toilet. About 8 of them went with their wives. The other lads went to bed or whatever, drink at the hotel. And then sitting next to the Kazi. I just won the World Cup. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? And I think they got £1,000 a man. £1,000 a man for winning the World Cup. And Jimmy, you know, Greaves, when Jeff played, got a hat-trick. Jimmy obviously missed out. Jimmy was a genius, Jimmy Greaves. I mean, and what, not only a great player, he was the most fantastic fellow you would ever meet in your life, Jimmy. He was so down to earth, it was crackers. You know, he was just one of us. And he was a genius. He's the greatest goal scorer I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone like Jimmy. But, you know, he obviously missed out that day, and so it was a sad day for Jimmy. But, yeah, it was amazing time. But, yeah, it was a great time to be a West Ham player because we'd go on tour to America. We went out to Baltimore 7 weeks. We represented Baltimore, Tottenham with Kansas City. At somewhere, I forget, in Kansas, Aston Villa or Atlanta. We all represented about 8 teams, we played each other during the off-season to try to promote football in America. But so we had great times. You can imagine we're out there for 7 weeks, at the time of our life, you know. We ended up, funny enough, we had a young boy come to West Ham, wrote for a trial. The club sent him a letter back. Not the manager, Ron wouldn't have even seen the letter because as a manager he wouldn't have reached you, but one of the secretaries asking for a trial, 16 years of age, his name was Clyde Best. Run up for a trial now as a black kid is in Bermuda. They send a letter back, we don't give trials, sorry, but if you're in the, if you let us know where you're going to be playing, we'll come and watch you here or say whatever. Just a standard box letter, Anyway, what does he do? He ends up flying over on his own, got a suitcase, a pair of his boots in it, flies over to Heathrow on a Sunday night. He arrives, gets to West Ham football ground on a Sunday night at 10 o'clock, outside the ground and saying to people, excuse me, do you know where the West Ham players live? He thought all the players lived at, there must be a hotel at the ground where they'll stay or something, And then people walk, is this young black boy, 16 but like 6 foot tall, got a bit of a growth, big. And then there's, people who no, sorry mate, suddenly this guy comes along, he says, I know where Mrs. Charles lived. We had 2 boys, Johnny and Clive Charles, and they were 2 mixed race boys. He said, I know where Mrs. Charles, so he took them to Mrs. Charles' house, knocked on it, and they let him stay the night. He told them the story, I've come from Bermuda, they couldn't turn him away, they let him stay. Next day, the boys bought him in their car. Ron Green with the youth, they let him train with the youth team, didn't think anything of it, yeah, he trained with the kids. I'll never forget it, it's like it's now, we're walking off the training ground, and the kids are coming in, crossing and shooting. They're missing, swinging, missing, they're hitting out of the bar. Suddenly in comes this kid, he catches it on his chest, bang, he volleys it right in the top corner. Everybody stopped looking. Bobby, all the players, did you see that? Anyway, we all stopped now, we're looking, who is he? I don't know. Anyway, suddenly they're all missing again, in comes Clive, bang, scores again. Ron Green with the manager's over there now, he's seen it, right, he's over there. Comes in about half hour later, he said, that kid's 16. No, really? He said, I want to see him play. He said, he's come from Bermuda. Really? Anyway, he trains all week with the youth team, plays on a Saturday against Arsenal, beat Arsenal 2-0, he scores both goals. They want to see his birth certificate and everything. A month later, he's travelling now, he's just coming 17, he comes with the first team on the trip to America. Played every game nearly. 17 years of age. The most lovely fella you ever meet in your lifetime. I still talk to him all the time. And they're just bringing out a documentary about his life. Some American company made a documentary about him. But he was amazing, you know, he really was, he was special. And he was the first real black player. Albert Johansson at Leeds was a mixed race boy. There was the guy, the fella who ended up as a bootman that played at Plymouth. So yeah, but Clyde was the first black player really to make it in this country. It was difficult times for him, but we loved him. He was a fantastic. He's a great person, you know.
Just before we move on to your playing career at West Ham, you were telling us last week about a certain Kenny Dalglish you had a trial.
Yeah, Kenny. Well, Kenny came to West Ham. People don't realise Kenny Dalglish came to West Ham. He was 14. He came with a kid called Jimmy Muller. They were both Scottish schoolboy internationals. They played up front together in Scotland. They were the two best schoolboy players in Great Britain probably that year. Kenny was the best player. They came over, they trained, and Ron Green was the manager. He said to me, Harry, you go past their digs every day, can you pick them boys up and bring them in training? Because it was different, you know, nowadays you'd have someone picking them up, they'd be living up at a hotel. They were living in digs round the back of West Ham football ground. I mean, you know, probably sharing a bedroom in there, it's got one room somewhere cheap. Anyway, I used to pick them up, bring them in training every morning. I remember the last Saturday before they went home, we had a practice match and Kenny played, Ron Green would put Kenny in the first team. Just for a half hour of the game. And Kenny got a ball in the feet, dropped his shoulder, bent it right in the top corner. Everybody started clapping him. It was like, I remember Bobby and everybody saying, will we get him here? Ron Green said, no, we're about Celtic. We're trying, everyone's trying again. He's going to Liverpool next week, Man United, whatever he wants him. But, you know, and we became big pals, me and Kenny. We obviously, through that, you know, sort of followed his career, what a player. And then he signed my son, Jamie went there, and Jamie lived with him actually when he first went to Liverpool. Stayed with Kenny. Kenny resigned about 6 weeks after Jamie went up there. He had a few, I don't know why, but he did. Me and Kenny were great mates until Soccer Aid, right? I ended up at Wembley managing the rest of England. Kenny's managing the rest of the world. Now we've been mates since he was 14, and you know, always got on great. He loved Jim and Jamie, great mates. And we're managing this game at Wembley, 80,000 people at Wembley. I take off Gareth Gates. Sorry, I take off Craig David, right? And I put Gareth Gates on, right? Now Craig David comes off. Craig David goes on. Craig, you know, he had a bad stammer, Gareth Gates. He's run up the wing, come back, he can't breathe, right? He's got an inhaler down his jockstrap. He's struggling, he's like, you know, I'm going, Gareth, you okay? You okay? He's going, all right, well, come on. So Craig Davis, don't put your tracksuit on, Craig, you're getting back on. Kenny looks at me, it's about 15 minutes to go. Kenny looks over, what's your game? I went, all right, Ken. He went, no, you know you can't put someone on when they come off. I went, Kenny, it's a charity game. 80,000 people. You know, what were you? No, you're out of order. I end up giving him some grief. We end up having the biggest argument I've ever had with any other manager over Gareth Gates and Craig David. And at the end of the game, he wouldn't shake hands with me. He won the game, and that was it. But now we're great pals again now, so but yeah, that was over Gareth Gates and Craig David.
You know, you made it as a manager, and you're arguing over two fine footballers as Gareth Gates and Craig David.
Kenny was a major footballer. You Liverpool family, what a player Kenny was, King Kenny.
So you've gone on left West Ham, you made 175 appearances. 1972, for 4 years, you joined Bournemouth. How did that move kind of come around?
Well, John Bond was the manager of Bournemouth, and John was a great player at West Ham for many, many years. John Bond was, he was a right back at West Ham year after year after year, John, you know. So yeah, he went to Bournemouth as manager, and you know, so Johnny Harris was coming through the youth team, and John looked like being a real good player. They signed Dudley Tyler from Hereford. We played him in the FA Cup. He was So yeah, suddenly I was out of the team, and John came in, and I decided to go to Portsmouth with him. So, but and I've been there, lived there ever since, But yeah, so it was interesting. But they were building a big team down in Portsmouth. Jeff McDougall, Phil Boyer, they all went on to play, play top league. We had an amazing team. So yeah, I went there with Bondi. But we used to go coaching at school in the afternoons when I played at West Ham. We'd go in the schools and we'd do a couple of hours. We'd get £2.50 an afternoon. All the players would go into school, different schools. I'd go to the Victoria School in Canning Town, 50 bob an afternoon. Just, you'd go there, you'd be there, sometimes we stayed there till 6 o'clock at night coaching the kids. £2.50, I mean, you imagine it now. £10 a week. We did every day except Friday, because that was the day before the matches. But yeah, but it was great, we loved it. Frank Lampard Senior went to that school, so that was his old school. We used to share a job there, so it was a great experience. That's really got me into, got us all into coaching.
Obviously, we'll talk about your coaching and managing career in a bit, but is that kind of where you got that, during that kind of hunger for, did you realise at that stage that you wanted to be a manager?
No, I didn't see myself wanting to be a manager. I enjoyed coaching. I found it easy, and it was quite natural for me coaching the kids and working with them, and I loved it. It was great, So, but no, I couldn't say then I'm going to be a coach or whatever else, And I went on to there, as you said, I moved on to Bournemouth, played at Bournemouth. But then, when my career came to an end at Bournemouth, I went to America and played out in the States. But before I went, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I mean, it was difficult, you finished playing in them days. We had no money. I mean, we had a clubhouse that they used to, that we rented a house off the club. It was £16 a month. £16 a month rent, which is £16 a month with breakers in it. And I was trying to buy a Bournemouth taxi. I thought I was going to buy a cab. I'd probably drive that for the rest of my life, because we didn't make any money in them days. But the cab, you had to buy the taxi plate, was £15,000. And the bank wouldn't lend me the money. There was no way I could get £15,000 from anywhere. And so I didn't buy the taxi. I mean, if I'd have bought it, I'd probably been driving the night in Portsmouth. So I dodged the bullet there.
Okay, so you touched on, you moved to the States there, so in 76 and 79 you've gone to Seattle Sounders?
Yeah, I went out there with Bobby and Jeff. We flew out together. We all signed for the Sounders, and their first game was in the Kingdome, opening a new stadium called the Kingdome. 66,000 all-seater stadium, magnificent new stadium in Seattle. And we were opening it on the Wednesday night, I think it was. We played New York Cosmos, Pele, Beckenbauer, all them great players, Pele. So yeah, it was amazing, and 66,000 people there. So they had a great time. We had a great time in America. I say with Bobby and Jeff out there. Mike England was there. Mike England, who played at Tottenham. Jimmy Robertson, who played at Tottenham, was there. Lots of good. Alan Hudson came out and played. He was at Chelsea. We had the whole country. Someone showed me a program. I did a program last week about American football, and the guy showed me a forward line. He said, the team was ridiculous. At the back was Bobby Moore and Beckenbauer. Right back was Carlos Alberto, the captain of Brazil 1970. You had the forward line was George Best, Pele, Eusebio, and Johan Cruyff. I mean, that's silly, It was just so ridiculous, and the players that were out there. George Best was a genius, when we talk about players. George was fantastic. He was just on another planet, George. He was the best I'd ever seen, George. I thought, he was amazing, and he was a great lad. I loved him, but going to Old Trafford. I remember going to Old Trafford one day, looking at the pitch when I was at West Ham, and talked to Dave Sadler, who played with me in the England youth team. And Dave said, he said George has missed the team meeting. He said he's not showed at the hotel. He's just come straight in the dressing room now. He said, looks like he's been out all night at a party somewhere. I went back in the dressing room and said, this message just turned up. We've got a big chance today, Anyway, he scored a hat-trick. I swear, unbelievable. He was so good. He was amazing.
So what was the draw to the States then? Obviously, today it's a different proposition completely, but back then with football very much not one of the major sports in the country, why were so many, like you said then, that forward line, so many good players?
Yeah, well, it was just, you know, the money was better. It wasn't like you weren't earning fortunes, but it was a nice, and it was a great experience to go there with the families. We went over with my wife and kids, and we were in the apartments with Bobby and Tina and their kids, and Jeff Hurst and his kids. And we'd go training, the girls would all go down the lake and get the barbecue on, we'd finish training, come back, the kids had a swim, we'd be swimming all afternoon and having a bit of, you know, doing the barbecue. And it was just, we had a great time, you know, it was an amazing time in our life, really. So it was, yeah, an experience. I couldn't say we came home with a fortune, and certainly I think we weren't earning massive money, but it was better money than we could earn in England, but it still wasn't, you know, wasn't money that was that much different to what the average person was earning probably. So, but it was great times, you know. As I say, everybody was there. Pele was amazing. People don't realise he scored 1,000 goals in his career. 1,000 goals. He was so strong, so powerful, you know, and he had that spirit, didn't he? The save that Banksy made in the World Cup, you know, how he sprung and jumped so high to get the power into that head that Gordon Banks' save was incredible. But Bobby playing in that game, Jorginho running against Bobby one-on-one and Bobby shoving, you know, the commentators going, oh my God, we're in trouble here. Jorginho one-on-one and Bobby's pushed him. And his slipper just pulled the ball back and got up and took the ball away. It was incredible. And one quick more story about Bobby. There was a game in the England, they had a bicentennial tournament. It was England, Italy, Brazil, and Team America. And they picked the team from the best players in America to play against Brazil, Italy, and England in a body fight. And in Seattle, England played, Team America played Brazil. And Bobby was captain of Team America. And at the end of the game, they had a player in Brazil at that time called Revellino. Revellino was one of the best players in the world. Droopy moustache, he's done a step over, bang, and he hit him from 30 yards, top corner. He was, at that time, he was like nearly the heir to next in line to Pele. And anyway, the game finished, and I'll never forget it. One of the Team American players goes running up to Revellino, taps him on the back, wants to swap shirts with him. Revellino, he went, oh no. I thought, oh, this would be a bit rude, really, you know. Anyway, with that, he sprints 80 yards up the pitch. Revellino, I was sitting watching it, taps Bobby on the shoulder. Bobby turns around and begs Bobby for a shirt. And it just said, well, it tells you just who the man was, you know. I've got a picture on my wall. It's as big as that wall, and it's Bobby and Pele swapping shirts, Mexico 1970, and the look of respect they're looking at it, you know, it's incredible. It's a beautiful picture.
I think, whilst we're talking about Bobby, nowadays the thought of an England World Cup winning captain going into management and turning up at somewhere like Oxford City. Giving you the opportunity to go there as assistant manager.
Yeah, well, Bobby rang me up. I was in America, and he said, Harry, I took over at Oxford, and he always said, if I ever get a job, I'd love you, you know, why don't you come and work with me? He said, I took over at Oxford. Would you fancy? I said, yeah, I'm ready to come home, Bob. You know, the boys, you know, we've had our time in America now. I'd love to come with you. So we flew back home. I thought it was Oxford United in the championship. It was Oxford City in Eastman, right? Part-time. I swear. And I had to go, I used to drive, they give me a little Ford Fiesta, a little green one. And they paid me £90 a week, and I had to drive every day to Oxford and back, every morning. I used to hang about all day. No players, because they was part-time. But they wanted, the chairman wanted me there all the time, just in case anyone rang up commercials. Anyway, Bobby would come Tuesday, Thursday night, and then we'd play a midweek game or whatever, and then play on Saturday. So I was with Bobby, and I'd be able to sit there some days, some nights, and we'd sit there in the dugout, Averley away or someone, and I'd be sitting there, what am I doing here? And I'd look next to me, and I'd think, what am I doing here? What is he doing here? More importantly, you know, it was, but it was an experience. We had a season. And then I went back from there, went back to Bournemouth and with David Webb, and then David moved on, and then I ended up taking over as caretaker and eventually I took over as manager.
So you just go back slightly. So you said, what were you doing there? What was Bobby doing there? But a genuine question, kind of, what was he doing there? Because somebody who's won the World Cup.
Well, Bobby came out of the game with no money. He didn't come out. He could, do something. And unfortunately, he wasn't a businessman, and like most footballers in them days, especially. He had a suede and leather business that was no good. He had other businesses that people put him in to use his name, and he probably didn't have a handle on what was going on or where the money was going. And basically, he needed to work. Unlike today, where they could probably, most of it, they look after it, they haven't got to work anymore. But he certainly did. So that was, and he ended up working for radio. Radio London or someone wanted radio, used to be on the radio. Last time I saw it was West Ham Grimsby, at Grimsby in a cup replay, and Bobby was there, freezing cold night. And you got out to look at me, he knew he was not far from losing his life, So, but yeah.
Okay, so you said you've gone on to Bournemouth. So how did the club then compare to the Bournemouth?
Completely different. We had no training ground. We used to train in the park, get thrown off by the park keeper. It was completely different. I went to Bournemouth, we were in the 4th division. We were in the old 4th division, Division 4. Bournemouth had never been out Division 4 or 3 in their history. Over 100 years of their history, never been out of Division 3 or 4. So it was a club with, 3,000 or 4,000 people there. John Bob was the only manager who ever looked like getting them out of the league. We were top of the league when I was a player there. And halfway through the season, John left and went to Norwich, had a fallout with the chairman, and took most of the team with him. And that was the end of that. We fell apart and never ever looked like getting out of Division 3 or 4. And then we got out of 4 into 3. I won Division 3 when I was a manager and took them into the championship for the first time in their history. So it was great for me. I was on the ladder on the way up, and beat Man United in the FA Cup. And that was when Man United had some good players. I mean, not like now. But yeah, we beat them in the FA Cup, and it was amazing. We drew them in the cup. We drew away to Dartford, beat them after a replay. Drew away to Windsor and Eton, beat them after a replay. Then we drew Man United, and we're a struggling 3rd division team. I mean, we were bottom half of the league. It was my first year as manager. And we get Man United at home. Suddenly it's going to be 20,000 people at Dean Court. We're averaging 2,500, 3,000. And I thought I'd do something special today. I'll take the players, get them in early on Friday, train, have a walk along the seafront, and I booked a little Italian restaurant just 5 minutes from the football ground, take them there for a bit of pasta, make them feel tomorrow is a special day. We're going to get 20,000 people here. Then, we were a team of free transfers. Every player by team was a free, they were all lads, earning no money, free transfers. I'm going to make them feel special. So we go to the Italian restaurant around the corner called the Lupa, and we're sitting there, and suddenly the owner comes over, Tony DeAngelis, I never forget. I had a goalkeeper called Ian Lee. We called him Nipper, because he was about 5'7". He couldn't touch the crossbar, right? He was but he was wider than what he was tall. Right? I swear, Nipper was about 18 stone, but he was about 5'7". Anyway, over comes Tony DeAngelis, the owner. He said, Nipper, you keep a clean sheet tomorrow. I give you free pizza for life. I thought that's all we need, Nipper, eat more pizza. Anyway, Nipper goes, oh, thanks, Tony. I wouldn't be too excited, Nipper. They'll probably be at 6 or 7-0. Brian Robson, Lou McCarthy, Norman Whiteside, you look at Paul McGrath, they'll kill us, Anyway, next day, a miracle happens, we win 2-0. They have not had a shot, I swear. We absolutely, don't ask me what happened. We ran all over them from start to finish. It was an incredible day. And Nipper is now going around every day having free pizza because he kept a clean sheet. Anyway, about 8 months later, I bought that restaurant I'm in there after training, I'll go round there, in walks Nipper. Hello, Gaff. I said, what are you doing here? I said, I've just bought this restaurant, Nipper. What are you doing here? He said, I get a free pizza every day, get up and off. I went, not anymore, Nipper. I'm in new management, old rules don't apply. Piss off. Actually brought back another 2 years on his career.
Okay, brilliant. So one of your goal scorers on that famous day, Ian Thompson.
Yeah.
Not long after the game, actually, looking back, he said, I didn't notice a change in atmosphere in training. Harry kept our feet on the ground. He may not have believed we could have beaten them, but he made us think we could, and that was his great skill as a motivator. Is that something that you prided yourself on as a manager?
Absolutely. And again, a lot of that came from Bobby. But, you know, I remember me and Bobby was in America, and he said to me one night, I mean, Ron Greenwood was the best football coach I've ever seen. I mean, he was a genius, really. But and Bobby said, do you know, Harry, Ron never ever said, well done to me. He said, never ever came up and said, well done, Bob, brilliant, you know. He said, we all need that, you know. He said, maybe because I was a captain of England, he thought I didn't need it. He said, but we all need it. We all need that pat on the back when you've done it. And I thought, you're so right, Bob, you know. When you do well, nothing like it, is there? Someone, hey, you were fantastic tonight. Well, brilliant, you know. And I took that on board, and when Bobby said that, it stuck in my mind. So I was more into, you can't come in and say, lads, you were great when you got beaten 6-0, not that stupid, you know. But when you played well, you know, tell them, let them know before a game, tell them how good they are. Hey, you know, we're murdering it, you'll keep getting the ball, keep playing, and that was important to me, you know. I made them believe that, yeah, even though deep down, I think they'll probably beat us 5 or 6-0 today, Man United. But deep down, my method, you know, I look at cup games now. I loved it the other week when Man United went to Lincoln, was it Lincoln?
Grimsby.
Grimsby, sorry, I just say Grimsby. I'll get Grimsby, of course. When they went to Grimsby that night, Grimsby got stuck into them. They didn't stand off them. They didn't show no respect. You come in here, we don't care who you are. We're going to get Steve into you tonight. We're going to have a go. We're going to get the ball in your box. We're going to get it forward. We ain't going to roll it out to the centre half to pass to the other centre half, give it to the fullback who gives it back to the centre half who can't really play. He'll lose it into the back of the net. We're going to get it up your end of the park. We're going to press you and get after you and tackle you. And that's what they did. And that's what we did. The pitch was muddy, we got the ball forward, every opportunity, we got it in their box, and we got behind the ball, and had shots at goal, made tackles, and that's how we played.
That's why we won a trophy for England.
Yeah, could have done it, would have been interesting, that's for sure.
Okay, so you've left Portsmouth in June '92, but a couple of years just before that, if you don't mind talking about it, there was a rather unfortunate incident that happened during the Italian '90 World Cup in Rome.
Yeah, it was a sort of time in my life, obviously. I went to Italy to watch the World Cup with Brian Tyler, who's my chief executive. He was also my big mate, you know. Brian was captain of Aston Villa as a player, good player. When he finished, he was quite a bright fellow. He ended up as chief executive of Bournemouth, and I was a young manager, and he was brilliant for me. He used to read me like a book, you know, and he was just great. I could bounce. We was a team, really, and he was go-between me and the board and the chairman. He used to know when I got me up about saying to the chairman, and he would sort it out, and, you know, say, oh, Harry, come, we're going racing, take me racing, get out. You know, you knew I was going to have a blow up that day or so, you know. He was brilliant. We went to Italy to watch the World Cup, and watch Ireland play Italy in Rome, and we came out, we had a driver, people carry out, we had tickets next day, we were making plans to go and watch England play Cameroon in Naples, and we were driving out of Rome, and 3 young kids in the car come the other way, 17, 18 hit us head on, they all got killed, my mate got killed, and somehow I survived, so yeah, it was a bad day.
Okay, so if you just go forward a couple of years, 1992, you've gone and joined West Ham.
Yeah.
You've gone back to your club as assistant manager to Billy Bonds.
Yeah, I went back there, we got promotion the first year, the championship. And then, the following year, Bill had enough or whatever, and I was going back to Portsmouth, to be truthful. That was my plan, I was going to go back to Portsmouth. I was living away from home a lot, the club had got sold. The people who bought the club was my old board, and they would only buy the club if I came back as a manager. And they said, Harry, you can have the club, you can be chairman, you can be manager. We just want you to come back and run the club for us. So they had 10 years here as manager, a long time, just over 10 years. But it didn't. Anyway, I got as manager, my first, it was a difficult time. We were a struggling team. Somehow we managed to start that year. And one of the big decisions was getting rid of Julian Dix, who I let Dixie go. Dixie was a great left back, but he was hard work, to be fair, at the time. He was hard work. And Graham Souness, I went to watch Liverpool play, and Graham Souness after the game, we hadn't won a game the first 5 games, and Graham Souness said to me, you're struggling, Harry. I said, yeah, we're going to have to sell our best player. He said, who's your best player? I said, Julian Dix, the left back. He said, not the little fat geezer. I went, no, you'd love him, Graham. I said, he loves that, and you in training, so I'll have some of that. He said, anyway, we were playing next day at Coventry. On a Sunday, he came to the game. Dixie elbowed this fella in the face, laid him out cold. The following week, I went to watch Liverpool again and bash it to Graham again. He's coming on, we played swimming on Sundays. I loved it when he did the geezer the elbow in the goal, He was looking for a bit of that in his team. Anyway, he came in and signed him. And we did a deal. I took Mike Marsh and David Burrows, and I took Lee Chapman as sort of for Dixie. Dixie went there. I bought him back about 15 months later on a free transfer. So it was good business, so yeah. But no, they had a great time to go back there. And my boldest signing was Paolo Di Canio. I think Paolo, when I signed Paolo, the headlines in the paper, I'll never forget it, on the Sunday newspaper, was Redknapp signs, walks the tightrope, signing Paolo Di Canio. He's walked the tightrope with no safety net under him. Di Canio will get him sacked. And I took a gamble because he was a genius. He was fantastic. We used to play against him at Sheffield Wednesday. He said, when he gets that anywhere in our final third, the nearest man, just go and sit on him, don't let him get the ball. He was so good. It was silly. He was just an amazing footballer. And I loved him. He was mad. He was, he'd come in the mornings, he'd have his sunglasses on, suit. He looked like $1 million. He'd come in singing Volare. Next day he'd come in, his wife had overcooked the spaghetti or something. Fucking hell, he'd kick my door, fucking shit up. And I used to put him on a team in the 9-a-side where no one would kick him. Where everybody would be, I'd make sure Stuart Pearce was on his team. If someone kicked him, he'll go off, But no, I loved him, and he was special. And he was a great signing for me.
So how do you've had a few in your career, how do you kind of manage those special players? So you've got your talent, and that's someone that can win you a game.
I love people that can play. He was a great player, and just, it's all characters, isn't it? He used to come to me, boss, you have to speak to Razor Ruddock. This morning, we are stretching. Razor Ruddock, last night I got 12 points and 4 kebabs, I can't tell you what else Razor said he was doing. So you have to speak with him, boss. We are supposed to be, don't worry, I'll sort him out, But he was amazing. And then obviously all them kids came throughout the youth team. My first thing I did, I went back to West Ham. I'll never forget it. I watched the under-13s play Charlton under-13s, get beat 5-0 over at Chapel Heath. And I said, how can Charlton have better kids than West Ham? It says something wrong here. And I spoke to them. They said, who gets their kids? How comes Charlton got so many good? They said, the fella there, Jimmy Hansen, he's a youth guy, he gets the kids. So I go over, I said, how you doing, Jimmy? All right, yeah. I said, would you fancy coming to West Ham? He said, Harry, he pulled up his sleeve, he had hammers tattooed on his arm, like West Ham man. He said, I'm from County Town, he said, my team. I said, well, anyway, so I nick him, right, we get him. And then we get Rio, we get Frank, we get Joe Cole, we get Michael Carrick, we get Jermaine Defoe, Glenn Johnson, all 6 of them go on and become super big stars, with hundreds, with caps galore, And if they'd have kept them 6 kids, where would they have gone? It's frightening to think about it. You know, they sold Rio. Terry Brown said that there may never be another big transfer. He said this will be the last big transfer in history because the Portsmouth ruling had just come in, and he thought that there'd be no more big transfers, you know. But he thought Rio's would be the last, £18 million, but obviously it wasn't the last transfer. But we didn't want to sell it. We tried to persuade him to stay in Frank Senior, but he made up his mind he was going to leave, you know. So, but Rio was a fantastic player.
You certainly had a few good young lads there. You talk about characters with Paolo Di Canio. You also had a fantastic talent called Paolo Futre.
Paolo Futre, yeah, Futre. Futre was a great player. He played for the only player to win 3 titles in Portugal with 3 different clubs. Porto, Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, the only man able to do that. And Atletico Madrid, Milan, he played for everybody. He was a fantastic footballer. But yeah, we had a big problem when we went to the first game of the season, Arsenal away, and I go to get the team. Sunny day, 44,000 people at Highbury. I take the team sheet, he come back in the dressing room, the kit man said, he said to me, Harry, we've got a problem with Futre. He won't wear number 16, he wants number 10. I said, well, we've got squad numbers, he has to wear 16, you know, that's his squad number. He said, I think, well, suddenly Futre comes up to me in the dressing room, you know. Futre 10, not 16. Futre, Pele, Eusebio, Maradona, 10, not 16. I said, no, I know, I'm sorry, Paolo, but we have squad numbers. So anyway, he won't have it. He throws a shirt on the floor, kicks it. Futre, not 16. I said, look, put your shirt on. Let's get the game sorted. We'll talk about it on Monday. Now, all them kids sitting watching me, Frank and Rio and all the kids are sitting there seeing what I do about it. And then, so anyway, he goes on and on. In the end, I tell him to kindly leave these premises or put the shirt on. I can't repeat my language here. And with that, he walks out, he goes. And Frank Lampard seen this and he, well done, Harry. He said, we only got 10 men now. He said, yeah, we started the game tonight. Go back in the dressing room, said to the referee, I'm sorry, Frank Lampard has made a mess of his part of the future. On the team sheet, I said, he's not even here. So he said, well, we can't change the team without Mr. Wenger's permission. So we have to go back in and he goes against Arsenal. Wenger comes into the referee's room. Now, Arsenal, you know, he's not a bundle of fun, is he? I mean, he comes in, he said, oh, what is this, tactics? I said, no, I'm not that clever, Arsenal. I said, Frank Lampard's cocked the team sheet up. Well, we said, you know, okay, in the end, he let us change it, he changed it, they still beat us, the cheery on really. What a team, anyway. Yeah, so on the Monday, Futre came back with all his people. I mean, he was a great player, Paolo Futre, fantastic player. I took him on a free transfer from Milan, but he was an amazing footballer, one of the world's great players. But, you know, he came back in on the Monday with his agent, his barrister. Now we're arguing, I don't want to talk to him because he's let me down on Saturday. In the end, he ends up, he said, okay, how many shirts you sell? I pay for it. I said, we sold all these shirts with Moncur's name on number 10. How many shirts you sell? I pay for them. I said, well, I think we sold about 30,000 shirts. I mean, I think we sold about 10 actually. So anyway, in the end, he gives John lets him have number 10 shirt, Johnny Moncur. He gives John 2 weeks holiday. He had the best fill-up in the Algarve. He done John 2 weeks holiday in the Algarve, but about 6 weeks later he done his knee and that is finished his career, unfortunately. John got his 2 weeks holiday, but Futre was a fantastic player.
So you spoke about a couple of West Ham great players there, Paolo Di Canio and Paolo Futre. There was one you kind of stumbled across in a pre-season friendly shortly after the '94 World Cup. Someone who quite liked to be chatting.
Oh, well, I ended up, I mean, it was, we had a game at Oxford City away, and I sat in the dugout. It was a pre-season game where we were opening Oxford City's new training ground, new ground, new stadium. So I sat down in the dugout, lovely sunny day. The guy next to the dugout got West Ham hammers all over him. Got West Ham earrings in, hammers up his arms, got his shorts on, got West Ham all up his legs. His waistcoat on his fingers, he's got hammers. He started on making the first whistle. Redknapp, when you're going to get a centre forward, Redknapp, we've had enough of that chat and he's useless, Redknapp. When you're going to sort it out, I'm sitting there, he's just staring at me, giving me grief, right, all through the first half. Second half started, making a couple of changes. He only took 13 players because Frank had took the team down to play Bill and Ricky. He split the two teams in half. Second half starts, I get an injury, got no more subs, I turned to him, I went, "Boy, big mouth, can you play as good as you talk?" He went, "Why?" I said, "Come when you're playing." He said, "Who for?" I said, "West Ham." He said, "I ain't got any boots." I said, "What size 10s?" I went, "Eddie, got any 10s?" Eddie thought I was mad. I went, "Well, go and get changed." Off he goes, comes back up the touch line, skinhead earrings, hammers everywhere. He's got feet like that, like 10 to 2 feet. He comes up, he said, "What do you want me to play?" I said, "You better go up front, go and play up front." I said, you keep telling me champions, so will you better go and play centre forward? Anyway, he went up front, he scored a goal, and I'll be honest, he was better than Tottenham.
Okay, so 7 years, 427 games in charge of West Ham. You've made the move to Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And you've gone there as director of football to work with Sir Milan Mandaric.
Yeah, I had a great time at Portsmouth as well. I went there, my first year as manager, we won the championship. We were 3-1 outsiders at the start of the year. I threw a team together, I signed Paul Merson. Before I signed Merson, I thought I'd do well to keep this team in this league. I really did. A mate of mine rang me, true story, mate of mine called Alan James, big pal. He rings me, big West Ham man. He said, "Harry, I'm going £1,000 each way, your team, 33-1. He said, I said, "Alan, we're useless." I said, "Please, don't waste your money." He said, "I thought you might turn around." I said, "Al, give no chance." I said, "We're shocking, honestly." I said, "We do well to stay up, you know." Anyway, we won the league at the end of the year, but he never spoke to me again. Cost him £33,000. But I signed Merson. I'm sure you've heard the Merson story, but Merson comes in. I signed him Wednesday before the first game of the season. Get a phone call from his agent, Steve Cutler, "Harry, would you fancy Paul Merson?" I said, "Yeah, we can't afford him." He went, "Well, they want him out. John Gregory wants to get rid of him at Villa. He's had his time. He's not going to be in the team. He wants him out of the building because he'll be aggravation if he's not playing." I said, "Listen, what's his wages?" He says, "I'm 20 grand a week." I said, "We can't afford that." He said, "What will you pay him?" I said, "4 grand. He went, "Can't you do more than that?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, let me speak to John Gregory. I'll come back to you." Anyway, 10% ring said, you got him. He'll pay 16, you pay 4, and we got a deal. So we signed him for the season. He come in, he changed everything. He was fantastic. He scored goals, made goals. We were top of the league from the first game of the season. First game of the season, we beat Notts Forest at home. We then go to Crystal Palace. We're 2-0 down at half time. Simon Jordan came in, second to Milan Mandaric. We're soon see how clever your big time manager is. They're winning, beating us. You can imagine Simon Jordan, can't you? I mean, he's got some job in he is clever, must be very clever, very, very clever guy. He wasn't that clever, he lost all his money owning Crystal Palace, but anyway, he is a smart guy. He does listen to him on Talk Sport. And Simon came in and said, "Let's see how clever your big manager," and we ended up coming back second half, winning 3-2. So, and then we went on a run, we were top of the league. We draw Man United in the third round of the FA Cup at Old Trafford, go up there, get beat, play great, fantastic performance, but get beat by the odd goal when they were really flying, the champ, they won the league that year. And anyway, we come back from Old Trafford, on the Monday Merson comes to see me. Harry said, we said we ain't got a game, we play Millwall next Saturday, then we've got 2 weeks with no game, because we're at the Cup. And we're supposed to be playing Sheffield Wednesday, they're still in the Cup, and so we've got a fortnight with no game. He said, "I've got a lot of problems." I said, "What's the matter, Merce?" He said, "Well, I've been gambling a lot, doing my money." I said, "Have you?" He said, "Yeah, I've been losing all my money." He said, "I've been drinking." "Oh yeah?" I said, "You're playing great." "No, I've been boozing, I've been losing my money, I'm back on the booze again." He said, "My missus called me with another woman." I I said, really? I said, I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, Merce. Can I go and try me under this clinic? He said, when I go there, they've got psychologists, they sort my problems out for me. I went, yeah, no problem, Merce. He said, well, after Millwall on Saturday, can I go away and come back 10 days, Wednesday week, 10 days at the clinic? I said, yeah, no problem. Anyway, we beat Millwall 5-0 at Millwall on Saturday, 5-0. Mercer gets 2 goals. I take him on 5 minutes from the end. He gets a standing ovation from the Millwall fans. That's how good he was at that time. Right? Anyway, off he goes at the end of the game. I'm going now. All right, Merce. I'll be back in Wednesday week. All right. I'll get sorted out, Merce. You know, we need you. We want to win the league. We want to get promoted. You know, we're top of the league. We need you here. You are my man. You're the captain. I need you back right. Come on, Merce. Off he goes. Anyway, we're training, freezing cold, January. On the Thursday that week, I get a phone call from a mate of mine called Michael Tabor. Michael is a billionaire. He's going to buy West Ham back in the day. Well, Michael's so rich and silly. Like, owns Coolmore, the racing empire, Saudi loads. He owns Victor. He owns. Anyway, he's West Ham, big West Ham fan. Harry said, the phone goes, Michael. Harry, it's Michael. Hello, Michael. How are you going? He said, I'm all right. He said, I've just been chatting to one of your boys. I said, one of our boys? He said, yeah, Paul Mercer. I went, oh no, what's the matter, Michael? I thought Michael must be in the clinic with him. He said, what do you mean, what's the matter? I said, well, he's in the clinic in Hertfordshire. He said, he ain't, he's on the beach in Barbados. I said, no, he can't be Mercer. He went, yeah, he is. He said, he looks well. I thought, I bet he does, yeah. Anyway, now I'm going to sack him. Next day I'm going to sack him. Friday I'm going to sack him. Saturday, he's got off what a liberty he's took with me. But I know without Mercer we cannot go up. We cannot. He is such a best player in the division. All the players love him. I loved him. I just, anyway, by the time we get the Wednesday, I'm going to let it go, get to the end of the season, I'll let it go, but I'm just going to go with it and see where it's going. He comes in, I'm on the training pitch, he walks up to me, oh Harry, I said, you all right, Merce? He said, I feel a lot better, thanks. I thought, I bet you everything, you've had 2 days in Barbados, right? He's got the best suntan I've ever seen, it's January. He's so proud, it's silly, right? Anyway, we play on the Saturday. We play Bolton on the Saturday, win 2-0, he gets both the goals again. We go on, we win the league that year. I let him go at the end of the season, but he was fantastic. I watch him now on Soccer Saturday. I watch him, he's going, right, they get 4 or 5 grand for doing the games. He's doing Soccer Saturday, he's there. We used to be Jeff Stelling or whoever, but he's watching the game. His game is Tottenham Arsenal, right? But he's had a bet on Chelsea Liverpool, right, next door. He ain't watching his game. I completely know it. He's had even 4 grand or whatever they get on that game. And he's kicking every ball in. And they go, Mercy's really going. Now he looks back at his own, he ain't got a clue what's happening. He's great. I love him. He's a great character.
I think before we move on from Portsmouth, I don't think we can leave with you being one of the very few English managers to won a major trophy in this country, the FA Cup with Portsmouth. How was that? Like being a kid who grew up watching?
Yeah, it was amazing. Having grown up watching the FA Cup as a kid. The only game that people forget, the only game that was on television when I was a kid, there was one game a year on TV, and that was the FA Cup final. There was no other football. There weren't no snippets of football. There weren't no highlights of football. We had one game a year, and that was the FA Cup final. We had a 9-inch television, black and white, with a 3-inch magnifying glass that you, I swear on my word, that you strung over the front of it, made it into a 12-inch, and that was the cup final every year. So to actually go back, and the man in the white suit would sing a Bible with me, 100,000 people at Wembley. Whoever lost, the fans stayed in after and clapped the teams off. Now when the game finishes, the stadium's half empty. Very different games, So to go to the FA Cup final with Portsmouth was amazing. On the way, we went to Old Trafford. We drew Mania. I remember the quarter-finals. We got to a quarter-final. I just want to get to Wembley so bad. Portsmouth things were going great. We won the league the year before. We were holding our own, but I just wondered if we could, we was in the championship that year. Sorry, still. But I wanted to get to Wembley, and that was my dream, obviously, to go to, we were in the Premier, wanted to get to Wembley. And I remember playing golf, and I'm listening to the cup draw. They're giving me the cup draw for Pompey, a day off, we played the day before. And they went, Man United versus Portsmouth. I threw the 8-iron further than I hit the ball. I swear I thought, oh my God, you know, and then Man United were trying to do, Fergie wanted to do the treble again that year. So they were flying, you know. Anyway, we went to Old Trafford and we beat them that day, and obviously went on to win the FA Cup that year. So it was amazing time for me.
Yeah, great times indeed. So December 2004, you made the somewhat controversial move up the road, and you turned up at Southampton.
Yeah, not a clever move. Not a clever move. I just got back here a month on the Saturday, and had a row with Milan after the game. He wanted to get rid of Jim Smith, who was my assistant, and I loved Jim. Jim was my right hand. And so we had an argument, and I walked out on Monday. He was insistent he bought a Yugoslav coach who I didn't know, and I walked out. But within 5 days, I was in at Southampton. So not a clever move. Every day I used to turn up. First couple of weeks at Portsmouth, at Southampton, as I used to pull up the training ground at the T-junction, right by the training ground. There was about 8 or 10 lads from Pompey digging the road, and they was waiting for me every morning. My God, they give me some grief. Oh my God. And you Judas, they slaughtered me, you know. But yeah, it passed in the end, and and eventually I got going back to Portsmouth, you know, after a year at Southampton or whatever. I get a phone call from Milan. Lampard Senior rang me. He got to watch a game at Portsmouth that day. Chelsea played Portsmouth, and Chelsea beat them 4-0, and he came up to Frank Senior, right in Milan, and Frank said, "You struggled with Milan?" He said, "Yeah, we're going to get relegated." He said, so Frank said, "When do you get Harry back?" He said, "He won't come back. We're not friends anymore." He said, "Well, why don't you ring him?" He said, "I'll ring him for you." And he rang me. I said, "Yeah, I would go back." And the funniest thing, I got a phone call that night from Chris Kamara. I'll go and meet Milan at his house. Right? I haven't spoken to him, right? They had a big fallout. I'll go and meet him. He's got a nice bottle of red wine, he had a drink. Now we're mates again, right? We're chatting away, and I'm going back. Right? I'll get a phone call from Chris Kamara. "Harry, get your money on Neil Warnock. He's going to Portsmouth." He said, "They're all lumped on him. Ali McCoy, they've all got their money on him." He said, "They've all got on him. He's going to Warnock's got the job." I couldn't tell him I've just shook hands on the job. So so that was that one. Warnock was shook hands with Milan. I think he had the job, and then I came out the back at the blue, and I said I would do it, and he obviously picked him and give me the job. So yeah, it was amazing. I was back at Portsmouth.
You touched on a couple of names there, Chris Kamara and great Jim Smith. Do you want to tell us about when Chris Kamara was live on Sky?
Chris is outside my office. Me and Jim are in the office. Chris is outside, and he's talking to Jeff Stelling and saying, "Jeff, I'm here at Portsmouth. Harry and Jim are in there doing their set plays, tactics. That's the inner sanctum." He said, "I'm going to go in there. They don't know we're here. I'm going to go in and surprise them and have a little chat and see what tactics they're working at for today's game with Leeds United." He opens the door. Me and Jim are sitting there behind the desk reading the Racing Post. Anyway, we still won 3-0, but I mean, but yeah. So Chris came. That was. But listen, good players. The most important thing, good players. If you've got good players, good pros, you know, it's quite an easy job. When you've got bad players, you've got no chance. And I had good players at Portsmouth, so you know, some fantastic players. Really, say like, but then the second time I ended up with a really outstanding team of players. Osama Diarra was a player. I took to Chelsea, and what a player. Sold him to Real Madrid for £25 million. We paid £4 million to Chelsea. Just some Suleiman Tari, Osama Diarra, but just strong, you know, real powerful team there, great team. Canu. I signed Canu. I'm looking for a striker, first game of the season, and we ain't got a striker. We're playing Blackburn at home. Tony Adams is my assistant. I said to Tony, "We're looking at the rock." I said, "Tony, we ain't got anybody to play on next Saturday against Black. What are we going to do? We ain't even got a centre half you can put up." who could play up there. Tottenham, they say Tottenham might be fit enough to play 45 minutes, but we ain't really got a striker. I'm looking, I said, Tony, what about Canu? He said, Canu? I said, yeah, he was at West Brom last year. I said, he did all right against us last year. He looked all right. He said, Harry, he's 46. I went, well, I said, where are we going to find someone? We looked through the book, can't find no one. I said, I'm going to ring Canu up. Tony Adams said to me, Harry, do me a favour. You can't ring him, he's knackered, he's 46 years of age, isn't he? I went, I'll ring him. Canu, I said, what, you going to play this year? Yeah, he said, I want to play, I haven't got a team. I said, well, I'm interested at Portsmouth. Would you? He said, oh yeah, I love to play, I want to play. I said, are you fit? Yeah, he said, I had a run over the park about 3 weeks ago. I said, you're good, get down there. So anyway, I booked him in the guest house, little motel that night, in the training ground. I said, I'll book you in there, the secretary will organise it, come down, give me the address, right? Come in the morning, have a medical, and get you signed. Give you a year's contract. Oh, fantastic. Next day he comes in, Tony's, Harry, you can't sign him. Please, Harry, do not take him. He's had it, I'm telling you, mate. Now I'm getting scared now. So that afternoon we had a reserve game at the training ground. Funny enough, we were playing Cardiff City. David Jones was there with them. And I said, what I'm going to do? I'm going to play him in the reserve game. I'll tell him it's not a trial. I just want to get him fit for Saturday. If he's no good, I'll tell the doctor to foul him on the medical, make out he's got a bad foot, right? Make out he's got a dodgy knee or something, you know. It's terrible, isn't it? But these are the tricks what you have to do. So anyway, Tony Adams with Harry, he's finished. Anyway, he plays in this reserve game. He scores 2 of the best goals I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen it like it. It was ridiculous. I'd sign him. I'd sign him. Mark the game, he signed him. On the Saturday, he's on the bench. Tottenham played 45. Blackburn at home. Mark Hughes, first game of the season. Blackburn had a good team. First, we come in at half time, 1-0 up. Tottenham has to come off. On comes Canu. He gets 2 goals second half and misses a penalty for his hat-trick. We go to Middlesbrough Tuesday night, win 4-0, he gets another 2. Comes back the following Saturday, scores again, we win again. We're top of the league. He's got 5 goals in the first 3 games. And he's still playing, 6 years later, he was still playing for Portsmouth, played against Milan. By Tony Adams' reckoning, he was 52. But what a signing he was. Sometimes you have to show what you believe in. It was a gamble and it paid off.
Right, so January 2008, during your second spell at Portsmouth, you turned down a job in the North East?
No, so I just wondered, see, I've certainly been here a long time. I just, sorry, it's a long way back to Paul. I do love being here, you know, but it's not the point. Sorry, yeah, go on. Where did you go?
I don't want to disturb you. January 2008, you've had a job offer in the North East of England?
At Newcastle, yeah, I got off the Newcastle job, but I was at Portsmouth and I didn't take it anyway. My cash was going to fly me up and put a plane on Portsmouth Airport every morning up half 7, get on the jet and fly. I thought that'd be fun. They start losing a few games, then Jordan to me calling me all the company, won't they? I thought, I don't like the sound of that one. I met Daniel Levy, he offered me the Tottenham job, and I didn't take it. He offered me the Tottenham job. Martin Yole was the manager, and I said, I've been through it. I was round his, I went 2 nights later, I went and met him at his house. I said, I don't know why you're getting rid of Martin Yole. He's 4th or 5th in the league. I said, Daniel, I don't think it'll be a popular appointment. I said, fans like him, he's a good guy, everybody likes Martin Yole. I said, I don't think it's a good time to come in here. I don't know why you're getting, and that was what I said, in all honesty. So I said, look, just give it a couple of months. If it changes, if you have a bad run, then I'm interested, you know. But at the moment, I don't think it's a good move for any of us. So I didn't take it. And it was a bit sort of 18 months, whatever, later when he came back again and offered me the job. And I took it. But when I met him on the game, I played in Braga in the Winners' Cup with Portsmouth. On the way back, he rang me, asked me if I could meet him. I got back to the airport. When we went up to meet him, I said, Daniel, I can't come Sunday. They had a bad start to Tottenham, hadn't they? I think they had 2 points in the first 8 games, and they were bottom of the league. He said, I need you for Sunday against Bolton. So I can't come Sunday. He said, why? I said, I'm getting the freedom to sit in Portsmouth on Monday. Right? I swear to God. He went, I said, I can't. I went, it's a big function. There's all the dignitaries, the Lord Mayor, the trumpeters out. I said, there's hundreds of people there. I said, I'm getting the freedom of the city. I can't come to Tottenham on Sunday, walk out of Portsmouth on Saturday, go back on Monday and get the freedom fans in. Anyway, he said, I need you, we ain't one again, I need you in the dugout Sunday. In the end, I took it, right? Now, Monday, I've got to go back to Portsmouth. Oh my God. Right, in the public gallery, there's about 28 great big Pompey fans, like they're mad as well, calling all the tunes. It's all the trumpeters are playing, the Lord Mayor's going, oh, we're delighted to welcome. He said, you tuners, bastard, this shit. It was scary, honestly. But I got through it, we survived somehow. But it wasn't no clever, then they smuggled me out the back door and got me out of there. But, so it wasn't another clever move, but we survived.
Okay, so that was October 2008 we joined Tottenham, and we'll call it an end to the first section. So if you want to grab a drink, grab a toilet and that, if in the meantime, if you can give a big round of applause to Mr. Harry Redknapp.
Thank you.